So how likely is it now that something happens? Plus, some news today on the Phillies as 4 more members of the organization have tested positive for coronavirus. How will that affect things, if at all? Frank Klose joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. 97.3 ESPN.com is where you can keep up on all the baseball storylines, and he joins us here to kind of break them down. We'll see which ones still have hurdles as he joins us here on the Sports Bash. What's up, Frank?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're okay, I guess. I mean, do we have baseball? Are we there yet?
Not really. We're waiting for 5 o'clock because that's a deadline that Major League Baseball gave to the MLB Players Association to answer a couple questions, including can you report for spring training on July 1st? Or I guess it's summer training now. Actually, we didn't have any training in the spring at all. I think it was still the winter when we left. But yeah, we're just waiting to hear whether or not the players say yes. And I'm not taking for granted at this point that the players will respond, yes, we'll show up on July 1st.
All right, so where do we go from here? All right, so when would this preseason training camp start, and where will the teams be training?
Well, they already shut down all the Arizona and Florida sites because of the spikes in coronavirus in Florida and in Arizona. Both states are 2 of the hot spots right now. And so really you can't really play games there. And as you just mentioned, the Phillies themselves have had some issues with some positive tests in their Clearwater camp. So it looks like teams are going to be hanging around their home stadiums. The one exception might be the Toronto Blue Jays because the travel back and forth to Canada is not yet open. So the Toronto Blue Jays will probably be the Dunedin Blue Jays, at least to start, if not for the whole season. My friend down in Florida was telling me that they were installing new lighting down in Dunedin, so it seems like they're planning to play their baseball season there.
All right. What about the possibility then of all right, so let's go back a second here. 60 games, right? What makes this 60-game season work in your mind? Why is 60 the number that they went with?
Well, Major League Baseball is saying that they really have a hard finish of September 27th. They really can't extend beyond that. Now, we had talked before about, they could play into December and all this other stuff. But it seems like for 2 reasons. One, the playoffs are kind of set on the television network schedule, and right now the television networks are going to be the biggest source of revenue. And also, once you get into November, there's a presidential election, and the networks are counting on making money off of that coverage. So the networks aren't going to let the presidential election be sort of taken over by baseball and having to split that revenue. So it sounds like baseball is sticking to September 27th being the end of the regular season so that they can finish according to the television schedule this fall.
So it does seem like the players are able to have the grievance, which is huge because that's something that they pretty much, it's the only thing they have after this proposal that went down. How powerful do you think that is when it comes to the whole entire product? Because the original proposal for 60 games, they had the playoff money in there, but they weren't able to do anything with the grievance, and now that's still in play. Is that powerful enough to say that they won at the end of this 60-game schedule?
I don't think anybody won here. I mean, this is bad all around. I think there's a lot of extra animosity that will carry towards the next collective bargaining agreement, which is supposed to be done before the 2022 season. So, the players, I don't totally get why they didn't take it. If there's no revenue coming in. Now, one of the things that was an option was some advertising on uniforms, and the players did not really accept that. So that could have been more income coming in. And they expanded playoffs. Right now, if there's an imposed season by MLB, you're going to have the regular old playoff system. And that means even in this small sample size, you're going to do the playoffs exactly as you did last year. And if you look at the last year, after 60 games, the playoff teams are the Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, and Cubs. That's it. And obviously, if you look back over the last season, that doesn't tell you the whole story of who were the better teams. So and then another problem is if you don't have fans in the seats, you're not going to have any playoff shares to spread around. That's where that money comes from, and that's how the players get paid in the postseason. So the players are looking at playing 60 for their full prorated amount. But then if they get to the playoffs and there's no fans in the stands, and there's no money come from that. So I don't totally get it. I think that they're trying to send a message more so for that collective bargaining agreement that they can be united and they won't back down. And I think if there's anything at all you could say that they would win is perhaps the impression to Major League Baseball that they will stand together as they go through the next collective bargaining agreement. And you know what? As for the grievance, they retain the right to grieve. But if the Major League Baseball side of things argues that, well, look, we have this hard end date, and by the time the negotiations fell apart, these were the only dates we could fit in. And if you look at the calendar now, you have your spring training, summer training, whatever it is, for 3 weeks. The way the things are laying out now is you need to play 60 games in 66 days. There's not a lot of wiggle room in there, and there's no room to make it 70 games in that scenario. So and that's 60 number. Major League Baseball really believes that when they met with Tony Clark last week, the head of the Major League Baseball Players Association, that they agreed upon 60, and then that of course was voted down. So there's just so much going on here. I can't really pick a side and say anybody quote unquote won, and really besides two sides losing here, certainly the fans are losing because nothing's happened.
No doubt about it. Yeah, Trevor Bauer is pretty open about it, too, when it comes to everything that went down. It's, what did we come out with? What did we come out with? Just the fact that we have the grievance that we can now kind of attack the owners later on. So he's a little confused. But I will say, so am I when it comes to this July 1st date. How realistic, 1 week from tomorrow, that there will be some sort of baseball on the field? It just seems like it went from 0 to 100 real quick when it comes to the date of July 1st. Do you think that is super realistic? 1 week from tomorrow, a possibility of baseball on the field? It just seems crazy to me.
They got to start. I mean, so if they're going to have any season at all, and if you're even going to play 60, they need to start. So a week from today, if the Players Association comes back today and says, yes, we'll report July 1st, obviously a bunch of the Phillies aren't going to report because they haven't had 2 weeks quarantined yet, the ones that tested positive. But you got to get something going. You got to get some people moving because they just don't have any more time. And if you're going to have a season and you're going to maximize the number of games, which according to that hard end date in September is 60 games, well, then you got to get going.
Frank Klose, 97.3 ESPN.com. Let's look at, you mentioned the playoffs and what they might look like, but what are some of the other mandates? I mean, is there a DH? Is there not a DH? Is there this whole wonky extra inning rule thing? I mean, where do we stand with some of those features, I guess you would say, for the game?
It sounds like because Major League Baseball is going to that March 26th agreement and just sort of saying, all right, we're going to play by that. The only thing that's going to change for this shortened season is the designated hitter in the National League. Now, previous discussions had talked about extending that into next season. Right now, this is said to be a one-shot deal. The thought was that would be part of the safety precautions. And I don't know how they arrived to that idea. Maybe the pitcher could just worry about being on the mound and not being running the bases and stuff like that. That may have been what was the reason for that. But really, it's just a designated hitter. No expanded playoffs. None of these other types of things that you often heard back and forth over the last, I will say, several months. Right? It's been several months at this point since that March 26th agreement. So that's really the only thing, and it's just for a year. Now that could change if they start negotiating towards that collective bargaining agreement that's going to expire after next season. Now. Maybe the designated hitter doesn't go away, but I think the players might want to keep that in their pocket as – see, here's what confuses me. The players have wanted a designated hitter for a long time. And the reason being that that's an extra job, essentially. That somebody could be a starter. You basically would be adding 15 more starting players to your roster every single year. So I think that it will probably come back. But for now, designated hitter, one-shot deal, just this 60-game season, that's it. And so far, that's the only thing that's really different.
Do you have any clue of what Tony Clark's qualifications are to be the chief negotiator for the players?
He's a switch hitter. He played first base. I guess he was the union rep for the Tigers when he played for the Tigers. That was how he got that. But honestly, like, he could have gone to school. I don't know that information right now. But I think he was an active union member and union rep when he was a player for the Detroit Tigers.
Right. No, and that's part of the point. It's like he's not a lawyer. He's not a negotiator. And you got to look and wonder, did he let the players down? I mean, you have a guy like Bauer, who I know is very outspoken, but it doesn't sound like the players feel like, man, we really got one over on the owners here.
Well, the players did vote. So the vote that was just voting down the Major League Baseball offer, it was a 33 to 5 votes. So you have one player rep from each team, and then you have 8 sort of at-large members that have votes. So he's got those players that are voting. Now, 5 of them did vote against vote for that deal. So there is still that sort of independent voice. I mean, for all I know, the Cincinnati Reds, with whom Trevor Bauer pitches for, maybe they voted yes. Maybe they were for it, and maybe that influence of Bauer made it into his clubhouse. But basically, it was the player reps voting, and it was the at-large members voting. And 5 out of 38 is of course not a lot, but some did vote yes. So I guess his role was to sort of negotiate the best he can and let the players decide. But yeah. And by the way, I did look. He did earn a degree in history.
All right, then he has that going for him, which is nice. What do you think about, the fact that the players got to keep the grievance, and how might a grievance affect this season, if at all?
Well, if they win a grievance, basically if they file the grievance, they would have to argue that Major League Baseball acted in bad faith and kept them from their maximum earning power. And I think right now that's going to be kind of hard to prove. The fact that you had the negotiations back and forth, just because they did not agree on a consensus. I mean, really, when it came down to it, they were off like 10 games. That's really what stood between the two sides at the very end. So they might have a hard time offering that they're due money because of ill faith. And you know what? If maybe the difference was that 10 games, well, someone will have to come up with a dollar amount on those 10 games, and maybe that's the maximum that they could possibly award the players. I just have a hard time seeing that the players will win any type of grievance against Major League Baseball, but maybe they want to keep that as some sort of negotiating ploy. Again, this was not even a contract year for the Players Association in Major League Baseball. This is a pandemic, the only one in your lifetime, my lifetime, and their lifetime. And they seem to approach this like it was some major rewrite of their entire collective bargaining agreement. And I think at the end of the day, that's why this is going to be so bad, is because they do have a collective bargaining agreement ahead. And I don't know, if they can get started on that, maybe the players feel like they can drop the threat of a grievance to sort of gain some leverage in some other respects. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that might benefit the players by taking this approach.
So Buster Olney actually 5 days ago, it looks like, tweeted the difference between 60 to 70 games with the full prorated pay, and it would actually be equivalent to Steven Strasburg's contract of $245 million. So that is the difference, $245. So if they did win, maybe that's possibly what they would get out of it.
But that's less than $10 million a team, So, there's 30 teams, so it's less than $8.1 million a team. So, yes, that, at the end of the day, if they win, I mean, that's not a very big payout.
Good point. I mean, when you look at it, again, I think this whole grievance, if that's what they were holding on for, it feels like they overplayed their hand a little bit. Frank Klose, 97.3 ESPN.com. Now, the Phillies had 4 members of the organization, 2 players apparently, and 2 other members. So what about the recent spike in the coronavirus cases and these positive tests from players? And I'm imagining we're going to get more. What do we know about the health and safety protocol now? And like the fact that this report comes out today when the players are voting, is that the players' way of leaking this kind of out to say, we're not so sure. Do you really want us to go back out in the field?
That's a great question. You never know where these things sort of leak out of. But I don't know that that's that big a concern. Think about all the other industries that are going back to work. I think for whatever industry you're in, if you have to go back to work, you want to feel like you're safe or that there's some procedures in place should somebody get sick. Now the question will become, and this is literally the $1 million question: what if one player gets the virus? Do you just stop play for that team? Do they have to forfeit a series? Do they just not play a series while they test everybody multiple times to see what happens? It's hard to say right now. See, these players that are testing positive right now, they're in the state of Florida in the middle of all this. I mean, they're not in an official camp. They're just there kind of working out. They're going about their day-to-day business in Clearwater, where they're presumably going food shopping and maybe getting food at restaurants and going into stores, and we know that that's kind of where one of the biggest parts of this outbreak is in this country right now. I mean, Florida was hitting 4,000 a day in new cases. So, I think it'll be much more controlled once they are all together. There will be stricter rules. But I think more importantly, what they will want to see is that if somebody gets sick, or, here's the question. If a player wakes up and he's got a little bit of a cough, like, do you even let him go to the ballpark that day? Do you test them that day and then wait a couple days and test them again before he plays again? I'm sure a lot of people like me have allergies, and sometimes the symptoms are very, very similar. And are you going to be that precautious when you're right, when somebody has a simple cough? So I think that there's so much that has to be worked out, and I think though, once they're all together and this gets going, there probably will be strict rules in place and to try to protect the players. But then they have to be able to pivot if somebody does test positive.
At Frank Klose on Twitter, more on 97.3 ESPN.com. Baseball is kind of back. We should know by 5 o'clock tonight. And he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. All right, Frank, take care, pal.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good stuff by Frank. Good conversation.